My family let me be homeless. Now, they want my help. Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I've always known I wasn't a favorite. It's not like my parents ever came right out and said it, but you can feel it. The way your triumphs get brushed aside with a nod, while your sibling gets a standing ovation for putting his dishes in the sink. The way your mistakes are punished like crimes, and his are treated like quirks to be laughed off. That was my life growing up. My younger brother, Jason, could do no wrong. He was the sensitive one, the free spirit, the late bloomer. Every bad grade, every missed job interview, every screw-up, there was always an excuse. He's just figuring things out. School's not for everyone. He has anxiety. Meanwhile, if I brought home a 92 instead of 95, I got to talk about wasting potential. If I forgot to mow the lawn once, I was irresponsible and not pulling my weight. It was exhausting. I moved out when I was 19, got a job, juggled night classes at a community college, eventually landed a decent role in IT. Nothing glamorous, but I was proud of it. I was saving for a down payment on a small place with my girlfriend of 4 years, Anna. Things felt stable, predictable. That's all I ever really wanted. And then the bottom dropped out. It started with Anna acting cold, distant. She'd come home late from work, brush off my attempts to talk, pick fights over small things. I thought maybe she was stressed. I tried giving her space. I made dinner, cleaned the apartment more, even booked us a weekend trip to get away. But it didn't fix anything. One night, I came home early from work. Some system failure at the office gave us an early out. I walked into the apartment and instantly knew something was off. Her purse was on the floor. There were 2 wine glasses on the table. A man's jacket on the back of the chair. I stood there for a second, tried to convince myself I was wrong. That maybe she'd invited a friend over, maybe it was innocent. It wasn't. I don't need to describe the shouting, the scrambling, the weak excuses. She cried, said it was a mistake, that it just happened. I asked her how long. She said 6 months. 6 goddamn months. She asked me not to overreact. That night, I packed a duffel bag, grabbed what I could carry, and left. The apartment was in her name. We'd moved in together when her credit was better than mine, and legally I had no claim to stay. I wasn't going to fight for a bed in a place where I couldn't sleep without wondering what happened in it. I sat in my car in a grocery store parking lot for about an hour. No idea where to go. Then I did what anyone would do. I called my parents. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Can I stay with you guys for a bit? Just until I get back on my feet. There was a pause. My mom sighed. Jason's using your old room. He just moved back in a few months ago. You know that. Okay, but I can sleep on the couch. It's just temporary. Another pause. My dad chimed in. We don't really have space for you, son. You're not a kid anymore. I just need a place for a few weeks. I'll be out of your hair before you know it. Mom's voice was soft but firm. We're trying to keep things calm right now. Jason's in a fragile place. He's been struggling a lot, and we can't add more stress. I swallowed hard. So you're saying no? It's not that we don't care, she said quickly. We just think it's better if you figure this out on your own. You're independent. You'll be fine, right? I hung up the phone without saying goodbye. So that's how I ended up sleeping in my car that first night. And the next. And the next. I kept telling myself it was temporary. I had some savings. I'd find a room to rent soon. I just needed to breathe, get my bearings. But it was still cold. Still humiliating. Still surreal. The part that ate at me the most wasn't the cramped sleeping position or the way I had to rotate parking lots to avoid attention. It was the knowledge that my brother, who hadn't held a steady job in 3 years, was in my old room, eating my mom's cooking, sleeping under their roof, playing video games all day while I brushed my teeth in a gas station bathroom. He didn't even know I was homeless. I didn't tell him. I figured he wouldn't care. I didn't expect my parents to roll out a red carpet for me. But I thought just maybe they'd offer me the goddamn couch. Instead, I got the door shut in my face. It's amazing how fast your life can shrink down to a car. After 3 nights, I had a system. I parked at a 24-hour gym, one of those chains where I still had a membership. It became my sanctuary. I showered there, changed clothes, even took naps in the sauna when I was too stiff from sleeping in the front seat. I kept my dress shirts and slacks in the trunk, pressed between towels to keep them from wrinkling. I'd shave in the mirror and pretend everything was normal. I still had my job. Thank God for that. I worked help desk support at a mid-sized company. Boring stuff, password resets, troubleshooting printers, talking clueless coworkers through why their computer wasn't connecting to the internet. But it paid well enough, and more importantly, it gave me a schedule. A reason to get up every morning. A reason not to fall apart. No one at work knew what was going on. I didn't tell anyone. How could I? Hey, sorry if I smell like Febreze. I'm living in my Honda Civic right now. I even kept up appearances on social media. Smiling selfies, reposted memes, the occasional joke about being too busy to sleep. I made sure Anna wouldn't know I'd fallen apart. I refused to give her that satisfaction. My only real moments of peace came late at night, parked in a corner of a Walmart lot or outside the gym. I'd stare up through the windshield and try to remember how I got here. I had done everything right. I'd studied hard, worked double shifts, never asked for anything. I'd been the reliable one, the responsible one, the one who always had a plan. And yet here I was, washing my socks in a sink and sleeping with a tire iron under my seat in case someone tried to break in again. That happened once, about 2 weeks in. I'd fallen asleep too early, still wearing my work clothes. Around midnight, someone tapped on my window. Then harder. Then they tried the door handle. I sat bolt upright, heart hammering, grabbed the iron, and stared them down until they walked off muttering. After that, I never parked in the same place 2 nights in a row. One weekend, I broke. I was down to 2 clean shirts. I hadn't slept more than 4 hours in days. I drove to my parents' house. I didn't call. I just showed up. My mom answered the door in her robe. She blinked at me like I was a Jehovah's Witness. Hey, I said, can I do some laundry? She hesitated. Now's not really a good time. Jason's sleeping. It's 3 in the afternoon. He's been having trouble sleeping, you know that. I stood there for a long moment. The sun was hot behind me. I hadn't eaten all day. I felt like I was going to collapse. I just want to do one load. I'll be out in an hour. Her mouth pinched tight. Fine, but keep it down. I walked in and passed by the living room. Jason was snoring on the couch, controller still in his hand, bag of chips spilled across the floor. The smell of weed hit me instantly. I walked into the laundry room and had to move a pile of Jason's clothes out of the way just to find the detergent. While the washer ran, my dad came in. You know, he said, not looking at me, we're not trying to punish you. Really? I asked. Because it feels a lot like punishment. You're a grown man. You should be handling your own problems. And Jason's not. He flinched. Jason's had a rough time. Not everyone's like you. He needs support. And he didn't answer. He just sighed and walked out. I finished the laundry, folded my shirts in the car, and drove back to the gym. A few days later, I got sick. Not surprising, considering my immune system was wrecked from the stress and lack of sleep. Fever, chills, headaches. I called out of work for the first time in a year. I spent 36 hours lying in the back seat, sweating through my clothes, trying to keep down water. I debated going to the ER more than once. I didn't because I was terrified of the bill. I still had insurance, but even the copay was more than I could afford right then. That was the lowest point. I never felt so humiliated, so abandoned. I didn't even tell my parents I was sick. What was the point? Eventually, the fever broke. I cleaned myself up at the gym, forced myself to eat a banana and half a protein bar, and went back to work. No one noticed anything. Or if they did, no one said anything. Then, finally, something shifted. I'd fixed an executive's laptop a few weeks earlier, one of the higher-ups. She was impressed by how quickly I handled it and how I didn't make her feel stupid. Her words, not mine. She stopped by my desk and asked if I did any freelance work. Her son's school was trying to update their network, and they needed someone who understood the basics but could also communicate with non-tech people. I said yes immediately. We exchanged numbers. That night, I worked in my car, researching everything I could about small-scale network setups, just to make sure I didn't blow the opportunity. The job paid $500 for 2 days of work. That was more than I made in a week at my day job. And suddenly a light clicked on. That freelance job changed everything. After I set up the network for that school, I walked away with $500 in cash, a glowing review, and something I hadn't felt in months, confidence. For the first time since Anna kicked me out, I felt like maybe I could dig myself out of the hole I'd been shoved into. That weekend, I used part of the money to book 3 nights in a cheap motel. Not a nice one, just clean enough not to give me a skin infection. I took a long shower, shaved, and fell into bed without bracing my knees against the steering wheel. When I woke up 12 hours later, I cried. Not out of sadness, out of relief. That same executive later recommended me to her husband's small office. They had a couple of aging desktops that needed repairs and some backup issues. Another easy $300. I started getting more referrals, schools, private clinics, nonprofits. Word of mouth was working. My phone started buzzing with messages from people asking, "Hey, you're the guy who fixes computers, right?" I wasn't just the IT guy anymore. I was a freelancer. I was building something. With every job, I saved a little more. I kept working my day job, but now I had breathing room. I stopped eating fast food 3 times a day. I could afford a gym membership with a shower that actually worked. I even bought a portable power bank so I could charge my devices on the go instead of draining my car battery every night. After 6 weeks of this grind, I found a listing on a local forum. An older man named Dennis was renting out a spare room in his house. The ad said, "Quiet professional preferred. Flexible rent if you're between places. No smoking, no drama." I called him that afternoon and was honest. I told him I had a stable job, was doing freelance work on the side, and was trying to rebuild after a breakup and some family issues. I told him I couldn't do a big deposit up front, but I could pay rent on time. Dennis looked at me for about 5 seconds, then said, "You seem like someone trying to do better." That's enough for me. That first night in Dennis's house, I laid in a Real bed for the first time in nearly 3 months. I didn't fall asleep right away. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding like I'd stolen something, waiting for someone to burst in and tell me it was a mistake. But no one came. It was mine. Over the next few months, I turned that side hustle into a real business. I filed a DBA, got a cheap logo made, started posting on neighborhood forums and local Facebook groups. I kept doing quality work, staying polite, always delivering more than I promised. People remembered that. Eventually, I was able to cut my hours at the day job down to part-time. Then I quit altogether. I made more in 1 week fixing networks and upgrading small business systems than I ever made resetting passwords in a cubicle. I didn't just survive, I started winning. A year after I left Anna's place, I signed a lease on a small apartment downtown. 1 bedroom, hardwood floors, full kitchen. Nothing fancy, but every inch of it was mine. I took a picture of the keys in my hand and sent it to no one, just saved it to my phone. Proof. That same week, I bought a used sedan, something fuel-efficient and reliable. No more duct-tape seat belts and sleeping with a tire iron under my leg. I bought new clothes, took better care of myself. I started going on dates again. Carefully, slowly. I wasn't ready to open up yet, but I knew I didn't want to die alone either. A few months later, I met Sarah. She was kind, wicked smart, ran her own marketing consultancy. We met at a tech networking event where I was demoing some gear for a small clinic. We talked shop, then we talked about books, then about terrible childhoods. She understood what it meant to be the forgotten one. Her dad had walked out when she was 12, and her mom coped by drinking herself into a haze. Sarah didn't need fixing, and she didn't try to fix me. We just fit. One night, about 2 years after I'd been kicked out of my own life, I got a text from my mom. "Saw your post. So proud of you, sweetie. You've come so far. We'd love to have you over for dinner sometime. Jason misses you." I stared at the screen for a long time. The post she was talking about was one Sarah had shared. My business had just partnered with a regional tech retailer to offer remote services. Nothing massive, but it was enough to be picked up by a local blog. It had my picture and a quote. "I just want to be the person I needed when I had nothing." Of course, my mom messaged now. I didn't reply. Not yet. A week later, another message came. This time from my dad. "Hey, hate to ask, but Jason's in a bit of trouble. Got behind on rent. Think you could spot him a few hundred to hold him over." That was when the anger finally settled into something cold. I stared at my dad's message for a long time. "Hate to ask, but Jason's in a bit of trouble. Got behind on rent. Think you could spot him a few hundred to hold him over." I didn't even know where to begin. The same parents who wouldn't let me crash on their couch when I was homeless were now asking me to bail out the very person who'd taken my place. I left the message unread for 2 days. Then I called. My mom picked up. "Oh, honey," she said like nothing had happened. "We were just talking about you. You've done so well. I always knew you'd land on your feet. No, I said. You didn't. Silence. You didn't know I'd land on my feet, I continued. If you had, you wouldn't have turned me away when I had nowhere else to go. You wouldn't have said the couch was too much. You wouldn't have told me Jason needed peace and stability while I was brushing my teeth in a gas station. Sweetheart, don't sweetheart me. I was homeless, and you knew it. You just didn't care enough to make space. But now that Jason needs help, again, you suddenly remember I exist? My dad got on the line. So, listen, I know you're still hurt, but your brother, he's struggling. He lost his job, and he's trying to get back on his feet. We were hoping you could help, just this once. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Just this once? That's rich. What's that supposed to mean? I snapped. It means I spent 3 months living in my car while you two played house with your fragile little boy. It means you picked your favorite and left me to rot. And now that I've got money, now that I've built something for myself with zero help from you, you're holding out your hands? You don't get to do that. It was a long silence. Then my mom said, "We didn't know it was that bad." I could hear the tears in her voice. "You didn't ask." I said, "And when I tried to tell you, you shut the door in my face." Another pause. Then my dad said quietly, "So you're saying no?" "I'm saying this. I owe Jason nothing, and I don't want contact with either of you unless you do the work to make this right." I hung up. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From my mom. She apologized. Said they'd messed up. Said she'd been scared of Jason falling apart again and didn't realize what it cost me. She asked for a chance to talk. Said she wanted to see me. Said she missed me. I didn't respond. Not right away. Instead, I called Sarah and asked if she wanted to go away for the weekend. We rented a cabin upstate. Hiked, drank wine, watched the stars from a hammock we set up on the porch. I told her everything. Every bitter detail I hadn't yet shared. When I finished, she didn't try to explain my parents' behavior or tell me to forgive. She just said, "I'm proud of you for surviving it." I eventually did call my mom back. Months later, we met at a neutral spot, a diner halfway between my apartment and their house. It was awkward. My dad didn't come. She cried. I didn't. She tried to say Jason had changed, that he was looking for work now and going to therapy. I just nodded. I didn't care. Not really. She asked if I'd ever be willing to see him again. "Not yet," I said. "Maybe not ever." She winced but didn't argue. I think she finally understood the damage they'd done. We ended the meal politely. She hugged me. I let her. It wasn't reconciliation. Not yet. But it was something. That was over a year ago. Since then, I've gotten engaged to Sarah. Business is thriving. I've hired 2 part-time techs and a virtual assistant. We bought a condo together. It's small, but it has a balcony and enough room for our dog, Rex, to chase his tail. I keep a framed photo on my desk, me holding my first apartment key, next to the caption, "Build the life they told you you didn't deserve." Jason texted me once last Christmas. Said he was sorry. Said he missed the old days. I didn't respond. Maybe one day I'll be ready to talk. But not until he stops needing things from me and starts owning what he took. As for my parents, we talk occasionally. Mostly surface-level things. Weather, work, weddings. I don't think we'll ever be close. And that's okay. Some families are broken in ways that can't be fully fixed. You just learn to stop cutting yourself on the shards. But here's the thing. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free. And for the first time in my life, I know what peace feels like. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks.